remembered a few more song tracks that we'd heard. We heard bits from Returnal, which was actually really good, the music from that. They had I don't know if it was a part of the actual orchestra or if it was like an actor, but they had an organist, or rather keyboardist, playing organ for the Returnal bit, which was very cool on the screen. And then we had, what else? We had Sea Power, the actual Sea Power band, playing tracks from Disco Elysium, which was also very cool. But we were slightly obscured, so we couldn't really see them. So I didn't even know they were there until Austin mentioned it at the end. But it was still very cool. I'm not sure that necessarily translated to a full orchestra, as well as some of the other game soundtracks. But one that definitely did was Ori and the Will of the Wisp. I think that's the title. But that was an amazing soundtrack. That was Gareth Coker, who's a really good video game composer as well. But yeah, back to your point on Player Obscure. As Austin was flying back following this concert, flying back to LA, once he reached home, revealed that he'd missed the Grammys for this concert that we'd seen him conducting, and that he'd won the Grammy for his soundtrack to The Sea, which is the giant card game. So he got all these notifications on his phone saying you've won while he was up in the air, flying back. And then he did a reflection on winning and actually spent most of the time talking about Player Obscure and how it should have won and how it wasn't nominated within that category, but it should have been. So he spent most of the time in his online thank you speech shouting out another composer, which I think, having now met him, is basically his personality all over. He'll do anything to push others up, as well as obviously being humble about his own work, but obviously aware of his own work and how good it is, but not in an arrogant way at all. He's a really lovely person. Speaking of meeting him, I'll come on to that. So we had a VIP event after the fact, and there was a mad dash to the floor above. We ended up coming in a little bit late because we took the wrong lift and we were on the wrong side of the building, and then we had to keep asking around, go back down, go across the building, find the right lift, just about fit into that lift because it was smaller. Come out, find the function room, and then hang around outside wondering if there was a queue or if these people were not allowed in because we had tickets. So after about 15 minutes of faffing around, we managed to get into the room, and it was one of those smoothie type events where people were handed drinks and left to their own devices, much the pre-event drinks and post-event drinks at our podcast awards that we went to, which, when you're in a wheelchair and you're an introvert, is a little bit of a nightmare to navigate. But we weaved our way around and then gently nudged people to get them to include us into circles and stuff. And I'll see if I can share my screen. I hope so. Let's have a look. Yes. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it fully. But these are the signatures that I picked up during the VIP event. And this was the first one, and it's from Bobby, who is the composer to Baldur's Gate 3. And I took a little notebook with me, as you can see. We hadn't yet become aware that there were posters at the back that we could pick up and pens to pick up as well. We hadn't reached that far into the room. So I was like, could you sign with it, please? Bobby is an incredibly effusive person. He's incredibly passionate. And I think that's just how he is. He, on seeing me, took my hand and shook it for probably about 10 or 20 seconds longer than you would expect. And then was very keen to tell me that the group around us and me and Tom were his people, and that he writes music for us, and that our passion is what keeps him going, which is lovely of him to say. But it's clear how much he cares about the music that he writes, because of course he did the music for Divinity, Original Sin, which we're playing together right now, which is great. And so I said to him, would you mind signing my book? I tried to tell him my name. It was naturally far too loud in an environment like that to be heard. So I wrote it down on the top there And he said, "To Alex, with my best wishes, Bobby, keep the passion alive," which is what he said multiple times when we were all in the circle. That's Bobby. And then a little later on, we came across Chris, who is the composer for Cuphead. And Tom was especially excited to meet Chris because Cuphead's one of his favourite games. And he wanted to know what his influences were on the score because it's basically a really big jazz record. And he said one of his main influences was the music of, and it's fallen out of my head. It'll come back. I will have to Google it. But it's a famous jazz musician from like the 30s and 40s, whose style was incredibly recognisable. So whenever you'd hear it, you'd know it was this person. And I'm sorry, that name has completely dropped out of my head, but it will come back to me. I'm sure there were some tracks featured on L.A. Noire soundtrack and probably on Fallout as well. It's that sort of era that kind of inspired Chris. But it was really...
I'm worried to guess because I worry I might end up racist.
You can try it.
Sammy Davis Jr.
No, I don't think so. Oh, no, it's gone. I'm sorry. I'll have to check. I'll have to do an edit later and put it into the notes. So... excuse my tired brain. But yeah, it was really nice to hear like the thought process behind the score and what he wanted to put across from the music as well, which is really cool. Basically, he said, that he just was influenced by this particular musician because of the way that their scores were so identifiable to be, well, their songs were most identifiable to them and nobody wrote like them. So I think he wanted to be as unique as he possibly could, which was really cool. And then a little later, we went right to the corner of the room and found Andrew Wincott, who took us even further into the back of the room behind what was some screens where people were having photos, so we could talk to him and hear him properly, and he could hear us properly. At which point I told him I was a massive Archers fan. So most of the conversation was all about the Archers and his character Adam, and the ensuing storylines that will come probably in the next few years, all to do with who's going to inherit the farm and the issues around him not being a legitimate child of the main farmer who he is at the moment. So there's all that to come. I will look forward to that. But naturally, as you can see from his signature there, he also voiced Raphael in Baldur's Gate 3. It sounds very similar to his character in The Archers, I said. It actually took me a little while to realise, which is very silly of me, and he said, yes, they do sound quite similar. And then he was, and what surprised us as well, because we obviously had a chat about Baldur's Gate 3, he told us about meeting a fan at another sort of convention or something, where they talked about the fight with Raphael, and how they killed him basically in one go by hoarding a load of explosive barrels all the way from the start, and just setting them all up around him, and then exploding him in one go, which sounds hilarious. And it's amazing. You wouldn't think he would remember that kind of detail. He said they were in honor mode as well. He understood what honor mode was and everything, so that was quite a pleasant surprise. Yeah, and he has been a voice actor for a number of other games, but they're not like credited parts. They're just mainly additional voices. But he's been quite prolific in a lot of other video games, which is really interesting to learn about as well. So yes, he signed it 3 times. Once as himself, Andrew Wincott. Once as Raphael with a cat, for the cat's claws, just like in the song that he sings about the claws coming down. So I think he quite enjoyed drawing a cat there. And once as Adam as well, so that was really lovely. And then right at the end of the evening, it was getting on towards midnight now, and we didn't even realise because it's one of those. We also had a couple of different canapes. They were okay. I think one of mine was ox cheek, which I then realised after the fact, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that now. Oh, that
ox cheek.
It was very meaty. Yeah.
Hopefully it was the head cheek.
It was in a, I hope so, I really do. But no, it was in a ball, the type. But yes, it was all right. It was just very meaty. But yeah, canapes is canapes. But last but not least, I think Austin was pretty much swamped for the entire evening. And it was like the security guards were telling us all to leave. And this nice lady who was also waiting for Austin, was like, have you been waiting? I've been waiting all night as well. And then she helped me to get to Austin and said, this lady's been waiting for you all night. And then I immediately got really embarrassed and started gushing all over. Just gushing and stuff about how great Austin was and how much I loved his music. And then I talked about how much I talk about him on the podcast. And he was like, oh, that's so cute. And then I said about his various videos on his YouTube channel, like the series that he did for his 40th birthday, where he talked about his favourite pieces of music, one for every day of the year, which is really cool. I definitely recommend checking them out. But yeah, there was not enough time to express how much Austin's music means to me. And I basically was probably just really red and embarrassed and waffling on. But in the end, got him to sign the back of my poster. And he said, thank you for your kind words and support. And then his signature and a little journey guy. He said, I couldn't resist a little journey guy. So that's a lovely memento. He asked me what my favourite part of the evening was. And I said, I can't not say journey. And then I couldn't think of anything else to say other than that. So it was a little bit awkward, but he did say it was very kind. And that it really meant a lot. And that it was his privilege to be there. Which I think a lot of the composers echoed. Which was really lovely. They're all just really lovely. I definitely would like to go to the next seminar again. Because you could see how passionate they all were about music in general. And about the art of crafting it for video games, which is completely different to scoring for film and TV, as we've discussed many times on the pod. And I think that's fascinating. But I shall stop sharing for now.
Duke Ellington.
Yes.
Duke Ellington.
There you go. You got it. Well done. Yes. That's perfect. So that was his main influence.
Austin, and this is another time I've been pleasantly surprised recently of the first big thing was the Wayfarer's Rest podcast that we need to get them to start a podcast of their own of some sort.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Such cool stuff there. And then say how they've only been open for 7 months. And the biggest problem they've had was that they've gone up a VAT tax bracket, and how everything that they are is antithetical to the system of capitalism that we are under and that we are bombarded by in 99% of products and services and places. And them starting online, and I'm going to join their Discord group because it's still going, and starting from that, and then that being successful enough to get an actual place, an actual property, and then it being incredibly successful after 7 months, just makes you go, oh, people can start with something that they love and then share that with other people and have the love of the thing be the foundation of it, their love of the thing. And gaming music it's still a niche, but I think it's one of those niches where the artists making something still can't believe that they're doing it and that anyone cares, because one of the soul destroying things about 99% of people making art is that no one cares, no one looks at it, no one reads it, no one watches it. And until you find your thing or make a certain thing, you can't go into any artistic endeavor hoping, right, this will be the one, this will be my breakthrough thing. You've got to do it because you love doing it, and you do it even if you never got any recognition for it. And to be someone like Austin Wintory, or especially the Clair Obscur composer, which we can talk a bit more about in a bit, to go, I can't believe anyone listens to my stuff, let alone people liking it, and let alone people loving it, and to be able to not have it not be a massive egotistical thing, because they could all go, oh yes, of course, I knew you'd enjoy it, so it doesn't surprise me that you enjoy it. They're going, oh, thank you, it's really cool. I can't believe that they're still like giddy children going, I can't believe.
Completely. Yeah.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, it's lovely. Interestingly, I wanted to touch back on the fact that your concert was in the Royal Albert Hall. I think that says something in itself about the rise of video game music as a source of entertainment in itself, or a concert where the set of music in itself, and the Royal Albert Hall is absolutely steeped in history when it comes to classical music, the number of proms, obviously, various other concerts of that ilk. That's what it's known for. That's what it's all about. It's classical music. There's probably a sort of attitude from some classical music lovers that gaming music doesn't deserve to be in a place like this. But do you think that seeing Elden Ring music in the Royal Albert Hall was a really positive thing for video game music in general? And do you think that there'll only be more of these types of events to come?
Yeah, the future is bright for video game music live events, because it's a very interesting phenomena, because classical music and classical music venues you'd think they'd be gatekept assiduously by the people in their 80s and 90s going, oh, we can't possibly have gaming music. Oh, goodness me, we can't possibly have that. And they would stand in the way of these kinds of things happening. But somehow, people, and the Albert Hall is probably the most esteemed concert venue in the country, and probably up there in like the top 10 in Europe. This is the mecca of the classical music scene in the UK, at very least. And to get the decisions that have to be made in the upper rungs of that to get an Elden Ring concert there, it's just, I can't imagine what led to that. But the only thing that matters is they got it done, they did it, and it was a success. And that's another pleasant surprise, is you'd think these old boys networks are always going to be intractable, because it just made me think of Amélie Mauresmo and the French Open.
Yeah.
And how you go, oh, she's a woman, she's new blood, she's in her 40s, she's not one of the old boys. So you'd think she'd do some revolutionary things would happen under her watch. But no, she just does what the old boys would do. Whereas with this, I assume they're the oldest of the oldest boys.
I would gladly say, yeah.
But somehow there's an ecosystem there that allows a revolutionary thing to come.
I know Elden Ring's not the first gaming concert that's been at the Royal Albert Hall either. There have been plenty of Final Fantasy concerts at the Royal Albert Hall as well. I can't name any others, but I'm sure they know those besides. Obviously, there have been gaming proms as well, as part of the prom series, and I think it's definitely doing more to feature non-traditional classical music. So there are more film scores and things at the proms as well. But yeah, I think it's been changing for a little while, but there's probably certainly still some that are resistant to it. But yeah. How did you find the audience did it look relatively alternative compared to what you would assume would you be your normal audience at the Albert Hall?
I think definitely it trended towards the younger.
Yes, yeah.
But it wasn't like, I wasn't like shocked. It wasn't a go, oh wow, everyone looks like this. Yeah. Or there are no one there that looks like that. It was a real just a real mix, a real organic mix.
I'd say it's quite similar for me as well. Yeah.
And I think that's another wonderful thing, is the audience for gaming in general and gaming music is diversifying.
Yeah.
That it's not just for boys and men from the age of 8 to 35. You can have anyone from any walk of life could go to an Elden Ring concert.
Yeah.
And it's not, it can always feel like there are people who game, people who don't game, and people who they've got one foot in gaming. Maybe their kids do it or their friends do it or something that's sort of adjacent to it. And then the people who have no gaming relationships in their lives. To have the potential audience spreading even to those people who have never gamed and don't game, to be able to have gaming music be its own thing to such an extent where you don't need to have played a game to love the music from it. And I really think that Clair Obscur it's raised the bar for gaming music and shows as well as what Clair Obscur has done in lots of ways, but especially the music, to really transcend the genre of gaming. I remember from the very start and from most of the game, I remember saying to Jem that the music needs to calm down a bit, because most game music, it's there as a background thing. It's never the thing. It's the background thing supporting the thing. But in Clair Obscur, the music behaves as if it's the thing at all times, and just somehow it just works with it all. And it feels like someone is just, it's that kind of art, which we're finding out a lot this episode, that it's hard to put into words. It's hard to explain what it is and why it has the impact it has. But it's a different breed altogether. The kind of stuff that you could show to anyone, and it's impossible for them to go, this isn't remarkable music. This can't compare to these other things. And it's fabulous that the composer for Clair Obscur was a SoundCloud musician.
Yeah.
And they found him doing that. And then he's able to create this completely bar-raising, unique, never heard anything like this before thing.
Yeah.
And it's just art. So there's just something about the art of music that it's just different to that. I've always loved music. And it really feels like it connects with the soul in a different way to, say, games or books or TV or anything. It's like
almost a conduit sometimes. But when you have emotions that you don't know what to do with, you're like, I need to listen to some music and feel feelings. And it just helps you to make sense of stuff, or to not even make sense of it, just to be. If that makes sense. But yeah, it's so you can use music to boost yourself no matter how you're feeling. Even if it's to feel more angry, you want to listen to angry music, you can be more angry. It's like a pressure release almost. I'm wittering on now. But I know.
You do, yeah. One of the most impactful periods of heavy metal music was the nu metal period in the early 2000s, and that was your Linkin Parks. And they just unlocked an entire generation of people, because there's the music, but then there was the lyrics and how they were saying things that people felt, but they couldn't put into words themselves. And they were putting those thoughts and feelings into expressing them in the most impactful way, so that you can hear that and you go, oh, they think and feel exactly how I feel now. And you can't choose what impacts you in that way. And music is, because it's always very short songs normally, and you can have a song that can just, within 3 minutes, can just hit you right in your soul and just makes you go, for me personally, it was going, oh, I actually exist. There is actually a me at the center. I'm at the center of me. And this connection that's like reaches in and goes, oh yeah, there you are. You're okay. Yeah. And just music, man.
So great.
Music.
But yeah, I wanted to just touch on something else as we wrap up that's linked to how great music is anyway. But one of the things I love the most about actually going to a concert is the idea that it's like a physical space for people who love games to come and be in a physical space together. And thinking about, obviously, we've been through the pandemic, and a lot of gaming is online, not all of it. But when you're video gaming, you're often separate from people. And I think sometimes it can, not necessarily all the time, but sometimes it can be isolating. But if you have a real passion for gaming and music, etc., you can come to a physical venue. You can meet that gaming community that also shares that passion with you, and be in a room and just let it all wash over you. And it's brilliant. And I loved it. And I also think it's a boost for the arts as well, because it's like a meshing of two different worlds. It's like gaming and the arts colliding, and it's giving that exposure to people who might not necessarily have ever been to somewhere like the Royal Albert Hall before.
Yeah.
And then it might cultivate a further passion into other types of music, like classical music, for example. So I think it's cheaper.
That's such a good point. I was thinking of it from the perspective of bringing people who don't game into gaming.
I think it can do that as well. Yeah.
But yeah, you're completely right about taking gamers who don't go to concerts at the Albert Hall. They don't listen to classical music. That's not what the average gamer is likely to. That like Venn diagram of demographics isn't like very common. But yeah, people who think someone who only plays Dark Souls games. Maybe that's the only games they like to play, these dark dungeon crawlery things. They might not necessarily think about music very much, but then they go, oh, Elden Ring concert. Oh, music is pretty cool. Albert Hall. Okay, that sounds cool. Oh, I'll get a cheap seat since I've not been there before, and right up high. And then you step into the Albert Hall. The Albert Hall.
Go one day. Yeah.
You go. Oh, you open the door. First you see it, and then you go, wow, that's massive. And then you walk in the front door, and it's got these great big staircases, and just big, and goes up, and then you go, oh, where's my seat? Got to go up how many flights of stairs? And then you go and walking up. And then another awesome thing about concert venues is when you're walking around like in the corridors outside, and you walk past people going through their doors, and inside just like you get a glimpse of the venue, and you see all this glowing brightness and the wood and the carpets. And then you get up to the top floor, and then you show your ticket to the man. He goes, oh yeah, through this way. And then you're in it's the Colosseum. Yeah. It's just this unbelievable, just the experience of walking through the door. And then you've never cared about classical music. You've never been to a concert goer. You only go to heavy metal bands in small venues, is what I normally do. And then all of a sudden you're listening to an orchestra in the Albert Hall.
Yeah.
When you would never have done that before. And I would go to the Albert Hall to see most things.
Yeah.
To be honest. And so, yeah, that's such a good point. Such a good point. Even more awesomeness.
Wonderful. Unless you have anything extra to add before, do you?
Yeah, can we quick? Because the first thing I thought when you said we'll do it about live events.
Yeah.
I went, oh, can we talk about how we would set up it?
Yes.
So if we narrow it down to music specifically.
Oh my God. Okay. I think the one thing that was missing from the concert I attended was God of War. Just have lots of God of War. That would be incredible in concert, I think. Oh my God, there's just so much to pick.
Yeah,
You'd have to be there for months probably to be able to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would. So for right now, I want a Clair Obscur concert in the Albert Hall. That's like the rawest experience of that I would want. The Albert Hall is the perfect place for any kind of music, really. And if they said we're doing a Clair Obscur concert like Elden Ring, I'd go to that in a heartbeat. Same with God of War. I think those are probably the
I'd probably also add in Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yesterday.
Yeah.
Because that's really good music.
Yeah. So there are those ones that if it was just a night at the Albert Hall with one game, I'd do that 100%. If it was a bespoke thing,
maybe it could be like a summer festival or something with several concerts across the city.
Yes, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Or games prom entirely for games. Oh my God. Yes, they've cracked it. Okay.
Like the Download Festival.
Yes.
You got Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Clair Obscur, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yote.
Yeah.
Those are the big 2-hour ones in the evening. And then throughout the day, multiple stages with smaller mini orchestras doing each of the things. And then, because then you could have half an hour for...
You could have a classics stage where you do like games from both the 80s and
yesteryear, yeah.
That would be very cool. You could do it by genre.
Like a Comic-Con plus music festival.
Yeah.
So you could have Austin Wintory would be there to do, he could conduct one, he might do a Journey one on Friday, then an Abzu one on another day, or he might do a medley of all of them. And then he could be there to sign autographs and do. It
would be so good.
Oh.
Yeah, we should make plans now. But that's what we do over there, yeah.
Just hire us to plan our things.
Very fun.
So cool.
Yes. We should go to one together. That'll be really fun. We should go to a concert in the future. Yeah.
I'm hoping the right one will appear.
Yes. I'm then even more tempted to just book that one that you sent in the chat about. Was it, or did I send it? Austin and Troy Baker are going to do a concert in the summer, this summer coming. I'm not sure whereabouts in London. I think maybe even Croydon, which is weird. But they're basically doing they don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to get the audience to help them write video game music live in concert. So that should be quite interesting. And now that I've seen Austin, I'm like, maybe I do have enough money to book that and go. But I'll think about it definitely. Yeah.
I want to know how those two met, because they did the Play, Watch, Listen podcast.
Yeah. And then they've done a series on Austin's own YouTube called You Gotta Hear This, which I definitely recommend. It's basically Austin showing Troy some of his favourite pieces of music and then watching Troy's reaction to listen to them. And then they just talk about it for 2 hours. It's so good. It's so nerdy. So nerdy. They're all so nerdy. But yeah, there's the good thing about video game concerts is I'm sure there'll be more on the horizon. So one day, you and I, Matt, we can head off together. It would be really fun. Definitely. But thank you for joining me for this episode. And you can catch us every Thursday if you want to listen to our lovely podcast for more. So thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.